What is up, guys? Welcome to the first live recording of the podcast, Look Good, Feel Better. I'm here with client Sara Anderson. Sara has been a BCS client for a little over a year, and she recently had some wonderful news from her doctor. And anytime we have a client who experiences kind of a big breakthrough or celebration, we like to take an opportunity to celebrate that and also let them share their experience and hopefully offer others hope who might be dealing with similar obstacles or frustrations. So really that's the point of today's conversation with Sara. So briefly, Sara, if you don't mind, could you kind of talk about your diagnosis and what that means for you?
Yeah. So when I was 20, I was about to start my junior year of college. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease that affects your whole body. So it's different from osteoarthritis in that it's not just isolated to one joint and doesn't happen from an injury or getting old. So I was 20 when I got diagnosed. So it affects your whole body, all your joints. So since then, I have struggled to find exercise that doesn't exacerbate my joints, make them worse, cause inflammation, things like that. So I've never been able to find really a consistent exercise program because I have permanent damage in my wrists from the inflammation from rheumatoid arthritis. So anytime I work out, I always wear wrist braces. And so that damage is irreversible. And my doctors have told me, all my exercise should be low impact. And, if it causes pain, I need to not do it. So, sorry, I've kind of gotten off on a tangent here.
You're good. So as you mentioned, rheumatoid is a little bit different cause than osteoarthritis, but the symptoms can be very similar. Inflammation is the main enemy there. We're having inflammation in the joints, which people who are having osteoarthritis, that can be from an acute injury, which is different from what Sara's experiencing, or just as we age, our joints start to get some inflammation, you get some bone on bone. So a lot of people struggle with arthritis. It can be a different diagnosis, but the symptomology is similar. One of the main things, even if it's not rheumatoid, and you kind of spoke to this, is we want to move, like your doctors have encouraged you to move.
Yes.
But we want to move in the right way. So no movement is not good. The wrong movements are not good. And that can make it even more frustrating because you are trying to do your best and then you do too much or you do the wrong thing and it's a setback. So, as we mentioned, doctors have encouraged you to continue to exercise. Don't push through pain. Talk briefly about maybe some of your previous experiences with exercise. Okay.
So in high school, I was an athlete. I played volleyball. I ran track, and in college, I liked to be active. I played intramural sports. And so when I was diagnosed with RA, I had to stop all those things. I could barely walk to class, much less set a volleyball. So I was told by my doctors that that movement was helpful, but movement hurt. So I did not exercise. And so I went through a long time of not exercising, and then I've joined gyms multiple times. I would try to go, and I was just intimidated by all the machines. I didn't know how to use them and which ones would be okay for my joints, which ones wouldn't be. And so I would end up just, walking on the treadmill. And I never lasted longer than maybe a month and, paid for the gym membership, but didn't actually go. I tried in the past few years, I went to a local gym and tried to take classes, but I require a lot of modifications for the movements that I can do. And so I would be in, this big group class, and by the time they would tell me what the modification was, they would already be moved on to the next exercise. And so I would just kind of sit through, if there was a movement I couldn't do, I would just wait it out, and I would end up, not being able to do half or 3/4 of the class. So it just seemed really pointless. And then I tried some different programs at the gym, and where it was more personalized and fewer amounts of people per trainer, and they just didn't get it. I would tell them it hurt, but they would tell me to keep doing it, or they would push me too hard, and then the next day I would hurt. And so I just never found something that really worked for me that I could be successful at long term.
Yeah, and that experience, while it's unique with the rheumatoid arthritis, that's an experience we've probably all had at some point, whether that's, with physical training, sports training, everyone gets a little intimidated when you're dealing with something that can hurt you. That's another level up. So I think we can all relate to kind of that intimidation factor that you spoke to. Another thing that we haven't really talked about too much yet, as a result of not being active and not being able to play the sports that you're used to playing and not being able to train, and we'll kind of transition a little bit towards when you started here at BCS Fitness, muscle tone, right? That's a big deal. When you can't, or you're not sure how to strength train, we're going to lose muscle. So I know that's been a big focus of yours, and you talked a little bit about how you were unable to maybe do all the exercises, and so you were missing 50%, 75% of the workout, which isn't going to help you build that muscle. So let's transition a little bit and talk a little bit about, you've been here a little over a year. So talk a little bit about how the transition to small group personal training at BCS Fitness has gone and how that's worked with your diagnosis.
Okay. So when I turned 40, I think everyone kind of has a wake-up call at 40. And I just wanted to, number one, feel better. And number two, I knew that as you age, you lose muscle tone if you're not exercising and taking care of your body. And I just really wanted to make that a focus. I also struggle with depression and anxiety. It kind of goes along with chronic pain that goes along with my disease. And so I wanted to explore how exercise could help me, give me a boost in that way. And I had several friends who were coming here to BCS Fitness and really talked it up to me and said, they really customize everything. They really modify things. You should give it a try. So I did.
Yep. And Sara has been a wonderful addition to her. She trains Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7:45. One thing that I like to talk about a little bit with Sara, she doesn't take herself too seriously. I know she's doing a great job of being vulnerable here, but that's not your typical. You're a lot of fun. You're not taking things too seriously, but we are working on a serious goal, right? To get out of pain. You mentioned the anxiety and the depression that comes from being in pain. That's a huge thing that people don't talk about when you're dealing with pain. There's a massive emotional toll that comes from being in pain. If you've been in pain for a long time, you probably identify with what Sara's talking about there. But you've done a great job of keeping your spirits up when you're in here, not being, too down. And that's been fun to see, because I know what you're going through a little bit. I don't have rheumatoid arthritis, but I've had acute injuries, and a lot of us, like you mentioned, that magic number of 40, we can all usually identify a little bit. We might not understand completely. So that's been awesome to see. Let's talk a little bit about how do we modify your workout, or how does that feel? You mentioned earlier when you were in a group or a class, a larger class, you felt like, yeah, they would modify, but it was too slow, or you weren't able to do all the exercises, so you would miss out. Talk a little bit about maybe in a session how that functions for you.
Okay. So I do feel like when I get here, the trainers have already thought about the exercises that we're doing that day and how they can modify them. So it's not off the cuff, where I feel like all the other programs I went to, it was kind of a surprise every time I said, well, I can't do that movement because, I have permanent damage in my wrists, or, that's high impact. I can only do low impact. And so I love that I know that I don't have to remind them usually, most of the time. Sometimes there's new people I kind of have to break in, but they know about they know what I can do, what I can't do, what is best for my joints, and they listen. Like when I say this hurts, they find something else. They find something else that works, and I never have to sit out and not do an exercise. There's always an alternative that will work for me.
That's awesome. And like you said, it's going to be, sometimes the coaches are learning, right? We're not going to be perfect, but we're here to help. And that's the main difference that we're trying to do here at BCS Fitness in a small group personal training session, is to have a personalized plan. So like Sara mentioned, we're thinking through before she comes in, hey, what can we do here that's going to work for that same muscle group but not irritate those joints or cause a flare-up with the inflammation.
Another thing I really appreciate about the trainers here at BCS Fitness is they never act annoyed if I say I can't do that, or that hurts, and they have to change things up for me. They're always super willing, super happy to find something else that works for me. And that hasn't been my experience everywhere. And so I'm never embarrassed that I can't do an exercise, or that, something hurts, or that I have to ask for a special modification. I never feel like I'm inconveniencing them. I really feel like that is what they are here for, that is their specialty. And it just makes my workout such a positive experience and something that I look forward to and I don't want to miss during the week.
That's very kind of you to say. And I will, as a coach myself, that is really what I like to do. I'm glad that's connecting, because that's what I am here for. That's what all the coaches are here for. We're not here to make you do everything that someone else is doing. We're here to personalize it. I am. I'm going to cry. But truly, that is my favorite part of my job as a coach, is to find the movement that challenges you appropriately, gets you the results that you want to get, and keeps you being consistent and motivated. So that's awesome to hear. Speaking of results, we'll shift gears a little bit here. Let's talk first. I know we mentioned it earlier. Muscle mass was one of the things after you hit that magical age that you were concerned about, which is everyone should be concerned about keeping or gaining muscle as we age to make aging more graceful. So let's talk a little bit about that. How has that gone with your training here at BCS Fitness?
So I can definitely tell a difference in my strength. And I can, open jars better than I used to be able to. I used to always have to have my husband open it for me, or one of my boys. And so it's just like little things, and it wasn't immediate, but it's just gradual. And even, I feel like even after a year, it's even more so. I could really tell a difference this summer when we were traveling a lot and I missed a lot of workouts. I could tell a major difference in how I felt in my joints. I have a lot of, before I came to BCS Fitness, I had a lot of foot pain and plantar fasciitis, but also rheumatoid arthritis related. And I noticed after a few months working out at BCS, I wasn't waking up in the morning with foot pain.
That's awesome.
I had this little foot massager, electric foot massager that I literally had to put my feet in and use every single day.
Yeah.
I was having to shop for like special shoes all the time because everything just made my feet hurt. And I don't have that problem anymore. I do have that problem if I don't work out for a while. So I know that it's connected to what I do in my workouts.
That's awesome. And like Sara mentioned, that's another thing that we're really trying to help people do here at BCS Fitness, is improve even the small things like opening a jar. It seems small, but it can be frustrating when you're like, I can't open this, and you have to go get your husband, you have to go get someone to do it. What if they're not there? That can make you feel less than.
Very frustrating.
We're trying to empower you, right? Outside the gym. That's why everyone is here working out, is to make life easier outside the gym.
Improve our quality of life.
Yes, quality of life. All right, so kind of still on the results side of things, we talked a little bit about how you're feeling better, getting out of pain, noticing how life is getting easier, just even small things. Let's talk a little bit more about your specific diagnosis. You recently, I think it was May, is that right? You had a update or a checkup with your doctor. So talk a little bit about how that checkup went.
Okay, so I see a rheumatologist about every 4 to 6 months, just basic maintenance at this point, to check just how my joints are doing. They feel my joints. They just kind of get a feeling for how much pain I'm having on a daily basis, what daily activities I am they have me fill out like 1 to 10, how are you feeling? And how do you feel like our treatment is helping you and all of that? And ever since that I have been coming here, I noticed that, the numbers that I'm circling are less. So like instead of circling a 5 or 6 for how I would rate my pain on a daily basis, I'm circling 1s and 2s. And it asks, one of them is, how difficult is it for you would it be for you to walk a mile on flat ground? And I usually would put like with somewhat difficulty, and now I'm circling 0, no difficulty. Oh, wow. And things like that. So, and then when my doctor looked at my joints, and I actually just this month had an ultrasound of my joints where they can see the inflammation in my joints, and they're checking for progression of disease. So if I have a lot of inflammation, that is going to cause the damage to my joints. And so in May, when my doctor saw me, she was surprised and said, your joints look really good. And she asked me what I was doing, what has changed. And the only thing that has changed for me is coming here 2 or 3 times a week. So she said, keep doing it. And so I am. And then my ultrasound showed no progression of disease. So that
right. And you mentioned earlier it's irreversible. Yes. So no progression is kind of like the best we can hope for, right? That's
progression means
A+.
Yes. No progression means nothing has increased. They don't need to change my medications. Everything is going well. I have, with rheumatoid arthritis, you sometimes have flares where your disease, you have more inflammation. And so for me, that looks like just really intense pain in maybe 1 or 2 joints where I can't move that joint, and I have to take a steroid or get a steroid injection before it will get better. And since I started coming here, I have not had to have any steroid injections, which I usually got at least 1 or 2 a year. So I haven't had to go in and have an injection into my joint. And the amount of just steroid pills that I have to take for flare-ups has decreased. So that is also really huge, because I don't want to take steroids very often if I don't have to. So
not if you don't have to, right? And steroids, while they're helpful, they're obviously an intervention that is needed. There is also some side effects associated with how much steroid you're taking,
like shortened lifespan.
Yep, kind of a big deal. We don't want that. So that's awesome. I know I didn't know about this until you just mentioned it, or I didn't think about this until you just mentioned it, but maybe 2-3 weeks ago, you were dealing with a little bit of a scapular, like you told me, hey, my shoulder's really kind of bugging me. We kind of worked around it a little bit. We did a little bit of specific exercises for it, and that went away, right? No steroid needed?
Nope. No
so that was
needed. And I actually had my doctor like kind of feel around on it and check it, and I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for sharing your experience, not only here at BCS Fitness, but before. Last question. What advice would you have for those folks out there that might be dealing with a similar, maybe the same, maybe they have rheumatoid arthritis or another chronic condition that's not completely curable, and maybe gives them, another hurdle to get over for exercise?
Right. Well, obviously, I highly recommend BCS Fitness. I think if you are in pain and your doctors are telling you to move, this is a great way to do it with these trainers that know what they're talking about, that really do care about making you, what is it? Look good, feel better? Yeah.
Look good, feel better. Simple.
So,
Not so simple.
I definitely do feel better. And I would just say, like, come try a class. Like, what have you got to lose? That's what I did. I tried a class and I loved it. And my husband can see a huge difference. He's super proud of me. I love being able to tell my kids that I work out, because my husband has done CrossFit for years and years and years. And I just know that I cannot do CrossFit. That's just not going to be good for me. And so now they get to see mom and dad, making exercise and health a priority. So I love that. I think it's been a really positive thing for our family. I'm able to, get out and play basketball with my boys, and without having to tell them, oh, mommy can't play today, my arthritis is hurting. So I would say just make exercise a priority. And if you've struggled in the past with going to a gym and not really knowing what to do, or just not being successful in a exercise program as far as being able to be consistent, the environment here is, it's fun and it's positive and it's encouraging. And everybody that I work out with is, I don't know, we're not here to like win competitions. We're just here to be healthy. And so it's not intimidating. It's like sometimes the best part of my day. So
that's awesome to hear. And that's one of the things that we're really trying to do, is be the best part of someone's day. As Sara mentioned, guys, if you're local to Bryan College Station and you haven't given us a try, we'd love for you to come try us out. If you're not, I would still encourage you to do what Sara's mentioned. Seek out professionals that, have your best interest at heart. There are thousands, if not millions of them out there. We're not the only ones. So if you're not local to us, just keep looking and find a support group, whether that is a coach, a friend, a spouse. It sounds like you've got all three, so that's really good. And just make, like she said, make movement. It doesn't have to be intense, but make movement and exercise a priority, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us on the Look Good, Feel Better podcast. Until next time.